Oh, let me tell you something. Bustin' makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, V. Bentley.
Hello.
What's up, V?
Not a whole lot. I watched that terrible movie, and that's about all I've done with my morning.
Yeah, you came to me. I mean, you've been talking to me we've been sort of circling, like, doing the show for a while. And this is the trouble with doing a podcast where there's like 200-something episodes, is that it's hard to pick a movie at this point. But then you get a gift like The Tax Collector, and holy shit. Let's get right into it. Why don't we?
Yeah.
This movie is hot fucking garbage, V. Why did you even watch it of your own accord? Like, why would you decide? Because I heard this movie was bad, and so I was like, oh, I'm not going to watch this movie then. I don't give a shit. Why did you choose to watch The Tax Collector?
Okay, so I sprained my ankle, so I've been, like, watching way more TV than I should be because I've just been stuck in bed doing the whole ricing thing. So my brother came over, and he's like, oh, you're stuck. Like, let me at least I'll give you my Voodoo account. I'll give you all these Showtime, whatever. And then he texted me later, and he's like, I rented The Tax Collector if you want to watch it. And I'm like, okay. So I turned it. I didn't even, like, look it up. I didn't know what it was.
Okay.
I was just like, okay, whatever. And I turned it on, and then it was just Shia LaBeouf with a horrible Mexican accent. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is what I'm doing with the next 2 hours. I, like, turned it on, so I was like, I guess I have to watch it now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you just stuck with it. You watched the whole dang thing.
I zoned in and out a little bit. Like, Instagram was probably a little bit more interesting at some point. But I did rewatch it this morning for this, just to get those extra bits of just horrible.
So
yeah, you missed them.
yeah, there's some parts that I also watched it right before we started recording today, and I had to go back and rewind a couple times. This has been happening to me more and more lately now, where I go back and rewind because I feel like I missed something, and then I rewind it, and then it turns out I didn't actually miss anything, and the movie just makes no sense.
Yeah, I did it, I want to say with some points, maybe 6 times on the same, and I'm like, nope, I don't know what's happening still. I'm just going to pretend that I know what's going on and just move forward, you know?
This is a real nightmare of a movie. And
it is.
If you had to describe, the way you felt while you were watching it, because you're already in pain. You're dealing with a sprained ankle. You got crutches in the background. Did this hurt worse than stepping off the curb and spraining your ankle?
Yeah. It's just so bad. It was so bad, and I stuck through the whole thing. I really did, and I was pretty proud of myself. And then I asked my brother, I was like, what did you think of it? He was like, not the worst thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, what was the worst thing you've ever seen then? So, yeah. But it's pretty, high up there. And there's a lot to it, too, as far as I've been, I looked it up afterwards. Mm-hmm. But Shia LaBeouf got LaBeouf. He got those tattoos for real.
Yes, I saw he got the chest piece for real. I know, which is crazy to me because you only see it for maybe 10 or 15 seconds in the movie.
He's covered in blood too. You can't even see it.
Yeah, and the camera's going all over the place because they're trying to do this stylized murder scene, and it's just, okay. So before we go further, I do. I forget, and I feel like I just want to clarify. Are you Hispanic?
Yes, I'm Mexican.
So I thought you were, but I didn't want to lean into this further because I've only seen one other Mexican comic talking about this besides you, and you're the first person to bring it to me. But but I've seen Frank Castillo talking about it as far as the Shia LaBeouf stuff. Because there seems to be like two sides to it online, which is one side is Shia LaBeouf's basically doing brownface, which is, I mean, that you could tell that just by like watching the movie. But then there's the other side, which is which I think is the side that like Frank is taking, which is that there's just like a white guy who hangs out with Mexicans long enough, and then just it becomes down. And that's what Shia LaBeouf is. Shia LaBeouf is just like the down white guy of this gang that we don't really know a whole lot about, of like Wizard's crew.
His name is Wizard. Yeah,
his name is Wizard. Shia LaBeouf's name is Creeper.
He has that on his stomach too. Creeper. Forever.
Yep.
It says Creeper on his stomach. How great is that?
I love it. I mean, I
think it's
all
great.
of the weird choices that Shia LaBeouf has made with his career, because some of them, he swings for the fences. He goes for it, and I dig it, even if it is fucking wacky.
Insane.
So Shia LaBeouf, from your standpoint, Shia LaBeouf, is he doing brown face, or did he do his research and become, as Frank would put it, a down-ass fool?
He, like, ducks in and out of his accent. Like, at some point, he's talking, and I'm like, that's just Shia LaBeouf's accent. But I went and researched a little bit, and I think it was the director was claiming that that's supposed to be the case, that he was just a white dude that just became part of this gang. I have two cousins. I'm half white. So I have none of my Mexican side has ever been in a gang, but the white side has been in gangs. Like other ethnicity gangs.
So they've been
like they exist. I have a cousin that like full on like he talks like a fool, like he talks like that, and I'm like, you don't even speak Spanish, dude. Like you're very white. You have blue eyes. Like what? Like you're not. Nobody's fooled by.
Be like if I was in a gang. Look at these peepers.
Yeah, but it's. I think that happens, and that's what the director was trying to claim. But I think that's kind of wishy-washy. I think after the fact, obviously this was filmed before Black Lives Matter became like huge earlier, and so I think he's kind of like, oh wait, no, that's not what we meant. He was white the whole time, but they never say it in the movie,
right?
But yeah,
at least I think they get away with like the plausible deniability of it because Shia LaBeouf's character's name is Creeper, and they didn't try and give him
an actual name.
Well, it's either that happened or they were going to release it, and then they're like, they gave him some like Diego or something like that, and they're like, fuck, we gotta dub over his name every single time. What's a good Creeper? Okay, yeah, let's go with that.
Creeper, yeah.
So this movie, I mean, as far as the actual like plot of it goes, because it's directed and written by David Ayer, who is become famous in Hollywood for, like, he started off making crime movies set in Los Angeles. He made Fast and the Furious, he made Training Day, and he did, like, End of Watch, SWAT, and so everybody was talking, you know, he sort of went away and did some other kind of movies for a bit. He did Fury, he did Suicide Squad, and then he made Bright, which was, like, a crime fantasy movie.
Will Smith, right?
Yeah, Will Smith. And it was like crime, but all the races were like orcs or elves. It was like a crime drama with Lord of the Rings. You watched that too?
It was horrible too. I should have done that one.
Oh no, we should have done a double feature. I should have watched, because same thing happened with Bright. I was like, I don't want to see it. I hear it's bad. But now, having watched The Tax Collector, like, there's a part of me that thinks maybe I'm missing out on something.
No.
Okay, good. Good to know.
There's not any part of you that's missing anything, no.
So I remember reading about The Tax Collector when the trailer dropped, and people were like, "Oh, he's returning to form. He's collaborating with Shia LaBeouf again." And I'm a big Shia LaBeouf fan. I'll stand by him. But watching this movie, it's so crazy to me that even though, like, Shia LaBeouf may or may not be doing brownface in this movie, I think that we are coming to the conclusion that the jury's out on that, maybe. But he's the only part of this movie that actually, like, he's the only person who seems like he knows how to act in the movie.
Yes.
That's not in a like a high school theater kind of way.
Yeah, the dialogue is fantastic. I mean, this beyond the acting, the dialogue in this is fantastically bad. Like they talk like Shakespearean like actors at some point, and I'm just like, you guys are like, nobody talks like
nobody talks like this.
Like gangbangers. Nobody talks like that.
Yeah. He
You're
says,
a candle.
You're a candle.
You're a candle. That's how gang members talk to each other.
He's giving all these speeches that don't, like, he's talking about family and, like, you know, you're making a choice. You know, there's all these, like, long monologues that don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
There's the whole all these sequences are, like, very... I'll say this, as far as a positive goes, David Ayer knows how to work with cinematographers who can light a scene and make it look cool. But my God, we got to stop letting David Ayer be the authority for how to write gang movies.
It's terrible.
He doesn't know how to do it. Like,
no.
I had a friend of mine.
You have a lot of experience with gangs, though.
I mean, yeah. Look at me. I've played a lot of Grand Theft Auto. I played a little bit of Hitman. I think that I had a friend of mine who watched this movie also, and I told him that we were doing this podcast episode, and he was like, "Why would you watch this movie?" And he was like,
"I made you."
Well, he was like, the craziest thing is that it feels like it was a passion project by the lead actor. And so I didn't go into the movie knowing that David Ayer had written and directed it. I just knew he directed it. So I was like, okay, maybe this is the guy, Bobby Soto, yeah, who's the lead in this movie. And I was like, maybe this is him clearly trying. He like wrote a script for himself, and he's trying to make it. And you know, all of a sudden, David Ayer comes along, and he's like, I like this script. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna do you a solid. We're gonna make this movie. And to find out that not only is that not the case, but that everybody in this movie, including the fucking leads, like Bobby Soto, the guy who's playing Conejo is really bad. The guy who's or the gal who's playing his wife is so bad.
Oh, horrible, poor girl.
I don't feel bad when any of these people die. I should, but I don't.
When the wife dies and he goes, I'm going to clean you up, and he pulls her into the bathtub.
Oh my God.
What was that?
I'm going to clean you up. What is this?
It was his first instinct, and I'm like, and then he like tucks her into bed and stuff. And I just imagine the poor like housekeeper walking in on that and being like, what the fuck is happening? Yeah, it's just very weird.
It's so weird. Also, if you're going to clean your wife up after she's had her throat slit, don't do it in the bathtub because there's going to get blood all over in the water. There's going to be more blood on her. It's going to be harder to clean her up. Do it in the shower. Okay? Cleanse it off.
He couldn't climb in with her and cry, though, if that was the case. And then not notice that his kids were gone the whole time. Like, he called up his sister-in-law, like, hey, where are the kids? And she's like, they're not with me. And he's like, what the fuck? But it's like, you walked in and didn't go, hey, the kids were with their mom. Mm-hmm. Now the kids are gone. She's dead. No, they must be with her sister.
Right. There's like, a lot. Sure. There's a lot of logical leaps in this movie. Like in that scene, that's like the third of the logical leaps. Like the first thing that happens, he walks into the hotel room with the suitcases full of money, and then he like doesn't see them anywhere. So I guess he thinks like, oh, they must be in the car already. Like I told them to be. And then he walks. This is not a big hotel room. This is like a single. This is like not even a suite, right? Like he's walking in. He goes and he washes his face the way that people do whenever they have just done something hard. You walk into a hotel room, you wash your face. I hate the fucking device of washing your face in a movie, by the way. Why is that always the thing that people do? I've never washed my face just to be like, oh, I want to feel more alive. I got to wash my face.
I didn't get it either, and he walks directly in, And that's the first thing he does. But I've never walked in and just been like, I'm just going to wash my face or anything. I'm like, I'm just going to go sit on the bed. He walks right by the bed where she's dead.
Right, that's the thing.
Right?
She was right next to the bed, which also doesn't make sense because he walks in, he does not see a pool of blood, which we know is what's underneath her when we see those shots later on. She's on the opposite side of the bed. He walks in, he completely goes all the way to the bathroom and then starts washing his face like a fucking lunatic does. And then sees her reflection in the mirror, which any sane person who's watched a movie before knows that there's going to be a dead body in a mirror somewhere in a movie like this.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's not smart enough to figure out, oh, well, if everybody's gone, I wonder why the room smells like blood a little bit. Oh, that's kind of weird. Like, the dude smelled blood before. Like, the dude has been involved in gang activity for his entire life. There's been a lot of scenes early on in that montage where it's like him and Creeper going around, chainsawing people and shooting people. Like, the dude knows what the air of, like, somebody's been murdered has to feel like. And also, he's tall enough to have, like, seen the body as he walks into the bathroom. It's okay. I'm baffled by this movie, V.
How good did they clean up after? Was there no struggle at all? Did she just go, well, I'm going to walk over to the side of the bed. You can kill me now. Because there was no...
Oh,
the room
yeah.
was, like, immaculate. They were like, oh, well, we want it to be a surprise. So make sure afterwards we remake the bed, we clean everything up, and just leave the body in the corner. It'll be like a nice little Halloween thing. Like,
That bed had hospital corners. I don't get it. It looked so nice.
The scene before where he's digging up the money and his cousin brings him out food and we watch him like angrily eating. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Was that a quesadilla or something?
I was like, why was this useful? It was such a bizarre, like, we got to see this whole like montage of him digging. Oh, no, let's take a snack break. I know they might kill my family, but I'm real hungry right now.
Right.
So
well,
weird.
this is, everything in this movie is so on the nose. But it's also trying to have the sort of emotional subtext, I think, too, because they have everybody talking like they're fucking old English Shakespeare characters.
Yeah.
But, like, nothing is subtle about this movie. The dude, our main character who's like, family's everything to me. Yeah, we could fucking tell by the fact that you have Familia tattooed on your chest.
But he's really religious. He just kills people and sells women. He talks about selling women, I want to say, like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
But then he's like, you need Jesus every time to Creeper. And Creeper's the only one, honestly, where I'm just like, if he wasn't like a total gang member, I think he'd kind of be like okay. Like he's like, I'm on this specific diet.
He's eating keto.
Well, that and he's practicing mindfulness and all this kind of stuff. I was like, he seems like he kind of has his shit together. He just kills people sometimes.
This is the crazy thing to me too. Is like, yeah, he's got nice suits. All right, he's got fucking he's got well groomed facial hair. Like, the dude clearly fucking takes care of himself. Our boy, Bobby Soto is not taking care of himself. He looks haggard. His haircut's bad. His family relationship is so, like, he's clearly wrapped up his wife in this horrible gang lifestyle. Even though his sister and his cousin and his sister-in-law are all like, who also, by the way, at some point, I think they wrote the lines wrong and the people on that side of the family became interchangeable. Like the sister-in-law and then his sister and then his cousin all start saying like the same sorts of things, even though it shouldn't be like that based on the information we know about the family and the family dynamic.
When they tell him to protect Alexis. Yeah.
We activated the Alexa in my house. Hold on, I have to turn her off. She's gonna think that I asked her to. There we go.
Mine is gonna go off too. Mine went off like 4 times during this movie because he kept saying it, and I'm like, ugh. So I had to unplug it because it just kept like the little blue light would turn on, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to you right now.
Right.
So that was the whole goal of the movie. That was the only thing that happened that was interesting during this movie.
there's this movie, a lot of it, I think also, like I was watching it and I could tell that there's a lot of logical leaps that take place from the very beginning too. And part of it, I think, comes from having lived in LA long enough now to know where people are and where scenes are happening. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember in the very early, and I think it's like the first major montage of the movie. No, it's the second one, because the first one is where Bobby Soto is like, hey, man, you're the new guy around here? All right.
Yeah.
Listen to fucking listen to me, cuz it's all going to work out.
You being so hard and gangster right now is just like so in your character.
I'm doing what I can. I should wear sunglasses like Creeper does.
Big wraparound.
Yeah. You heard of me?
He never does anything in the movie violent either, really. They do like a small montage where he's just like smoking a cigarette, like dressed in the head to toe, whatever it is. In
the like the hazmat suit.
He never really hits anybody. He doesn't do anything. It's like, I heard you were the devil. From where though? Like
we don't know.
He didn't do anything. No.
All this, this movie's a lot of like tickling and teasing to try and get you to think, oh, these are dangerous people. And then you just find out that they're pussies who don't know how to actually like defend themselves. But they take jujitsu. Yeah, he takes jujitsu. Yeah, and he takes jujitsu. And he's also bad at jujitsu. He's very bad at jujitsu. He's so bad. He's like crying on the mat at one point because of how bad he is at jujitsu. Because he's just getting like armbarred and grappled and choked out by his sparring partner. Creeper has. I wonder if Shia LaBeouf did the cauliflower ears for real, because he seems insane enough that he would endure that, but he had horrible cauliflower ears. I believe that he would have. Yeah, I didn't notice that, but I was noticing because I didn't know about the until reading about how method he went for with the tattoos. I know he'd worked with David Ayer before. I didn't realize that he like cut himself and gave himself a scar on his face and then pulled out one of his own teeth for Fury. And I could still see that scar on his face. Know that. Yeah. This is what he did for this tank movie. And so you could see the scar on his face still in all the close-ups. He's an insane person. Like, I give it to him. He is very, very dedicated. But after a while, all of this stuff is going to... And they have great makeup artists. Especially on, like, a big, film like this. They have great makeup artists. Right. And they only show it once. Like, he's going to run out of space to maim himself. I know. It's so... this movie, so it starts out, they have this first montage, and also, by the way, like, the way he's acting from the get-go, you can tell that he's clearly, like, somebody who's either bad at acting or David Ayer just was fucking off somewhere and didn't really tell anybody how he wanted this movie to feel. Yeah. So then we have this first montage, and the montage happens, and they're, like, they're walking through Santee Alley, or somewhere else in the Fashion District. It looked a lot like Santee Alley, given my times that I've been there. Yeah. They go and, like, are picking up tacks from a bunch of different, like, body shops and other stores. And then at one point, they're clearly back in Santee Alley. And then they're, like, off because they're, like... Literally, Shia LaBeouf takes a phone call... Bobby Soto takes a phone call, tells Shia LaBeouf, who's the driver, he's like, we got a side mission. We gotta go. Like a fucking video game, dude. We gotta go. Side mission, Holmes. We gotta go pick this. We gotta go set this guy straight. And they're so caring, too. And that's where the candle guy comes in. I don't even know what that guy's name was. That's how much he meant nothing to me during the whole movie. But the guy from the... Was it a rival gang? It was the Bloods. I don't quite understand. Okay, it was the Bloods. Mm-hmm. But it was like, are they against each other or were they together? Like, what? I've never known that, like, different gangs were just like, we're just friends. We're buddies. Well, I think, as far as I can tell, gangs don't want to actually, like, have turf wars. They just have their own areas that they keep the peace in and run their business in. And so they clearly didn't want to get involved with these guys who Bobby Soto was working for Wizard. Oh my God, his name is Wizard. I keep forgetting the guy's name is Wizard, who they're in charge of.
His name is Wizard.
Wizard. Creeper.
He's the leader of a Mexican gang. His name is
Wizard.
Yeah. And he's really he calls his son just to like laugh on the phone, which I found great. Like he's going from prison and it's like I can get caught at any point in time with this cell phone and get fucked over. What I'm gonna do, here, hand that fucker the phone. Like
right.
I'm just gonna laugh. That's it. That's all I'm gonna do.
That's the craziest thing too, is like, so finding out, when you find out that Wizard's the guy's dad, it's supposed to be this big moment, and yet I don't care. And then and then like this whole quinceañera scene happens, and it's supposed to be like this big plot point, right? Like we've just met Conejo, who's like, yo, the cartel sent me up here. I'm gonna fuck you guys up. I'm gonna fuck up Wizard. Everything's gonna go down, and I don't care. And then they find George Lopez's head in a cooler in a strip club, and I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, this movie is like filled with moments because everybody's playing it so poorly. I think there's all these scenes like, we don't need the fucking quinceañera scene. We don't need that. There's so much fat in this movie, which is hard to do for a movie that's 95 minutes long.
It's true. The funny thing to me, too, is that Shia LaBeouf poured so much into this. He only lasts about 2/3 of the movie through.
Yeah.
2/3 of the movie. Like, he's not even a main character, and he just covered himself, like, 2/3 of the movie. There was a lot... Yeah, I can't think of any characters that I really gave a shit about. I really can't. I keep thinking of it, and I'm like, was there anybody where I was like, I hope that guy's okay? No.
I don't, it's just like, this movie is I don't want to say white noise because that's
brown
like,
noise.
It's brown noise. Yeah. I'm going to let you say it because you're the one who's more Hispanic out of the two of us.
Yeah.
But it's just like, there's so many problems with the way this movie actually plays out. And I want to know, as somebody who's seen it twice, of your own volition, like you chose to watch this movie twice. You didn't have to, but you did. And I appreciate that.
What if I missed something and Jay's going to bring something up and it was a major plot point and I'm going to be like, I don't remember that part of the movie. So I was like, I'll just rewatch it. I'll do it. I'm like, I'm the one who chose this movie. I'll put myself through it again. The only thing, honestly, that I picked up the second time was a line where Creeper says, I don't fuck with TV dinners. And I'm like, that's great.
He says, I don't fuck with TV dinners. And then they're like, oh, the money's in the freezer. Which is also like, well, you're not supposed to be figuring out stuff as the audience before they figure it out. Like, give these characters some credit. Don't let your characters be so stupid if we're supposed to be rooting for them.
They're very stupid.
Everybody in this movie is so stupid.
Everybody is. I can't think of... Yeah, there's not really anything. And it's so... They did the good and evil so ridiculous. Like, the one guy is, like, doing satanic sacrifices and everything, and then the other guy, I'm a Christian, but I kill people. And it's
my God. I forgot about the satanic sacrifice scene.
The sacrifice, yeah. And she was... The girl they sacrificed was just like, all right, what are we doing? Oh, okay, you have a knife? Cool. Okay. And then it was like, whatever, that's fine. And then I couldn't tell if, was it Gata? Was that the woman that was in all, she was like painted black at some point doing the sacrifice?
I think so.
Is she the same one as the girl that came and threatened them, or is it a different girl?
I think it feels like it'd be the same girl, but I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. And that's another problem with this movie, is there's so much that is unexplained that seems like it's supposed to be a big plot point, or at least something that like fleshes out these characters a little bit. But like, I don't care about anybody. It's impossible to care about. I mean, here's the order of the people that I care about in this movie is I care about Creeper. And I was sad when Creeper died just because I was like, he's the only interesting character in this movie.
I agree.
I wish they had followed him instead of following any of the bullshit with Bobby Soto and his family. I don't care about that.
I agree. If they would have flipped it around and they would have been like, let's focus this movie on the only white guy in a prominent Mexican gang, I would have been like, I'm in. Like, this is interesting. This is something kind of different. This is exciting. Instead, they were like, here's this very, very religious dude who really, really loves his family. Like, who would have thought? You know? He's a gang and he loves family. Like...
And they open with that dream sequence where they wake up in bed and Alexis, the wife, is like, oh, honey, I had this dream. And she tells this, like, it's this hacky dream idea where she's like, we were at the beach and then the kids were under the water and I was beating on the water like glass at an aquarium. And I couldn't get to the kids. And it felt so real. Oh, and the husband's like, no, baby, it's just a dream. Oh, do you think that some bad shit's not going to happen the rest of this movie? Do you think everyone in this movie might die?
At that point, there was at some point where I was just like, I don't care if they kill his kids. That sounds bad. Like, if there was a dog in this movie that died, I probably would have been way more invested than any of this. It was all pretty terrible. Oh, before I forget, there was a part where Creeper's tattooing the dude on the back.
Right.
And they just ask him, obviously they killed this dude that they're talking about, but they're like, how was the funeral? And he's like, kind of sad.
Right.
That was my favorite part during the whole movie. I was like, what is this conversation? So weird.
My favorite part of the movie was I think it's somewhere in the last third of the movie. Oh, I think it's right before it's at the strip club where they find George Lopez's head in a cooler. And I'm pretty sure that it's either Bobby Soto or Conejo, and he goes, "We could be billionaires." It's like, why would you say it like that? Why do you have to emphasize it with the slap? I don't. So if they made the movie about Creeper, I'd be cool with that. And honestly, if they made the movie from like the dual perspective of Creeper and then the guy who's the head of the Bloods, who's like navigating this relationship and has to come back at the end and save the kids.
That guy was the nicest guy, though.
So nice. He was so nice.
Sweetheart.
They're the only people I actually care about. That's
he lived,
it.
Right?
Yes.
I'm like, I watched the whole thing and he lived. Okay. I'm like, he would be the only one. And he was so nice. He's like, thank you. You're a light. You're a candle.
You're
Just
a candle.
Always remember.
Thank you.
You're a candle. You're a candle.
Yeah.
So sweet.
For a movie that's full of like the most obvious, stupid, this is good, this is evil, is good, is evil, who cares? Is it all good? Is it all bad? Where does it lie? For a movie that's so like stupid and on the nose, it's one thing for a movie to, I think, be made for an audience that like wants it blunt and right in their face, right? Mm-hmm. Like I've heard this said about audiences in general, not just, movies or comedy or whatever, is that, I think comedians and writers and stuff, the people who like make entertainment tend to be on the smarter side, right? Because they are, they're working to entertain everybody though. Like they're working to entertain a certain amount of the population. So if you assume like you're smart, right? Remember that the audience might be as smart as you, but most of them will not be. And so I think it's totally fine if people are going to make movies that are for like a broad audience, as Tax Collector clearly is trying to be. But it's one thing to assume that your audience is stupid, but it's another thing to like make everybody in your movie stupid also.
Everybody. Because
you can't empathize with a stupid person who you're supposed to be rooting for.
It's very true. Yeah, I mean, everybody in the movie was very stupid. Like, I really can't think of any part where I'm like, that makes sense. Especially like when they're driving around and they know they're being chased, and he has his cell phone on him. And I'm like, isn't that something that you throw away, like when you know, like I potentially could be tracked or whatever? Like, how did they find his wife? Oh, you had your fucking cell phone on you when you dropped her off. Like, nothing in the movie, nobody used any common sense whatsoever.
Right.
So I understand it, but it's just, it was horrible. It was bad.
Is there, in your mind, anything that could have been done to fix this movie? Or is it a total wash?
I really think it's a total wash. I think that they used, like the wardrobe department and Shia LaBeouf getting all these tattoos and everything as a placeholder for character development. I didn't give a shit about any of the characters. Like, honestly, the only thing I could think that I would have been like, okay, I could get into it was what we mentioned earlier with Shia LaBeouf, like being, like we focus on his character and how it's hard to be a white guy in this gang.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way. Other than that, yeah, I didn't give a shit about anybody. So it's a wash. It sucks. It was terrible.
It's so bad. But hey, listen, I'm glad we got to share this terrible experience, at least just for a little bit, V.
Just for a little while.
Well, I was hoping I would never have to watch this movie, and you dashed my hopes, but I'll forgive you, V, because I love you. I think you're great. You're a great comic. You're very fun. Tell us about it. By the way, where can our listeners find you and see your work on the internet if they want to see some wonderful comedy?
Right now, just be Bentley on Instagram. There's not a whole lot of comedy going on right now. I'm hopefully going to be doing some more outdoor type things coming up as those are popping up. But yeah.
Good. Outdoor comedy needs to happen in Los Angeles, in the LA area. It's crazy to me that it's not happening more. No,
I think I think everybody's kind of figuring it out. I'm seeing more stuff popping up.
Yeah.
As time goes on.
I'm working on something too, so seeing how it goes. Well, you can follow me at Diet J on Twitter and Instagram. jlightcomedy.com for all of my shows and info, and go listen to my album. It's out.
Listen to Jay's album.
It's out now. Go stream it. Throw some royalties in my pockets. Or just enjoy it. I don't really care. I just want you to like it. Thanks again, V.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jay. Thanks for having me on. It was really fun.
Happy to have you. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.